Hey, welcome! If you've ever looked at a big project and just felt completely overwhelmed by all the moving parts, well, you're in exactly the right place. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the blueprint for project success. We're breaking down two of the most fundamental ideas out there: process groups and knowledge areas. Let's jump right in.
So I'm going to start with a question that probably sounds a little crazy. What on earth could making your morning cup of coffee have to do with managing a massive billion-dollar project? The answer, and you got to trust me on this, is pretty much everything. It all comes down to one really simple, really powerful idea.
Just think about it. When you make coffee, you start with your inputs, right? You've got your beans, your water, a filter. Then you use your tools and techniques, the grinder, the coffee maker, and you actually do stuff like grinding and brewing. And what do you get at the end? Your output, a fresh, delicious cup of coffee. That simple flow, that's the building block for everything we're about to talk about.
In that coffee example, it perfectly captures the official definition of a process. The project management body of knowledge, the PMBOK as you probably know it, defines it just like that: a set of actions you perform to get a specific result. Doesn't matter if that result is a cup of coffee or a brand new skyscraper, the basic idea is exactly the same.
Okay, but here's where things get a little wild. Project management isn't just one process. According to the official guide, there are 42 of them. 42! Can you imagine trying to just memorize a list of 42 different things? No way! That would be a total nightmare. So we clearly need a system, some way to organize all this chaos.
And thankfully, we have one. The best way to do it is to look at these 42 processes through two different but totally complementary lenses. Imagine you're looking at a map. First, there's the when lens. These are the 5 process groups, and they tell us when we're doing the work in the project's timeline. Then there's the what lens. These are the 9 knowledge areas, and they tell us what kind of work we're doing, what specific expertise we need.
All right, so let's pick up that first lens, the process groups. Remember, this is our when lens. It's all about organizing the work based on the project's life cycle, or its timeline.
And there are 5 of them. Initiating, that's how you kick things off. Planning, where you figure out the roadmap. Executing, that's you actually doing the work. Monitoring and controlling, keeping an eye on everything to make sure it's all going smoothly. And finally, closing, where you wrap it all up. Pretty logical, right?
But hang on, here's a super important point, and it's a trap a lot of people fall into. These groups are not project phases. A phase is a chunk of time, like a design phase or a build phase. A process group describes the kind of work you're doing, so you can be doing planning work during the build phase or monitoring work during the design phase. It's all about the activity, not the date on the calendar.
What's really cool is how these all flow together. You see, you start with initiating, which naturally flows into planning. That planning then leads to executing, doing the work. And once the work is done, you move into closing. But look at monitoring and controlling. It's like the project's central nervous system. It's overseeing everything, all the time, constantly interacting with all the other groups to keep the project on the rails.
Okay, so that was the when. Now let's put that lens down and pick up our second one, the knowledge areas. If process groups are about the timeline, knowledge areas are all about the what. This is about looking at the project through the lens of specific skills and expertise.
And here's the formal definition for you. A knowledge area is really just a specific field within project management. A good way to think about it is like different departments in a company. You've got your finance department, your HR department. Each one is a specialty, with its own set of tools, its own language, and its own goals.
And in project management, we have 9 of them. You've got the big 3 constraints: scope, time, and cost. Then you've got the areas focused on people, like human resources and communications. You've also got the ones that protect the project: quality, risk, and procurement. And right in the middle of it all, you have integration management. That's the master conductor, the glue that holds the entire orchestra together.
So we've got our 5 process groups, the when, and our 9 knowledge areas, the what. Now for the really cool part, the big aha moment. This is where we put it all together and see how these two lenses create one single clear picture.
And here it is. This is the absolute key to understanding everything. None of those 42 processes just floats around on its own. Every single one belongs to both a process group and a knowledge area. It has a spot on the timeline, the when, and it requires a specific type of skill, the what.
This matrix, this is the master key. This chart is your best friend. Seriously. Think of it like a map grid. You've got the knowledge areas running down the side and the process groups running across the top.
Every single one of those 42 processes lives at an intersection here. So for example, a process like define scope lives at the intersection of the scope management row and the planning column. It's a planning task that requires scope expertise. Once you see it this way, it all just clicks into place.
Okay, I get it. This can feel a little theoretical. So why does any of this actually matter when you're in the real world, in the trenches, trying to get a project done? Well, let's talk about taking this from theory into practice.
You should think of this framework as your essential PM toolkit. First, it's a mental map. It gives you a way to organize those 42 processes so you're not just swimming in a sea of jargon. Second, it's an incredibly practical tool. At any point in your project, you can ask 2 simple questions. When are we? Which process group applies? And what work is this? Which knowledge area is involved? That tells you exactly what to do. And last but not least, if you're even thinking about getting your PMP certification, well, this isn't optional. The entire exam is built on this foundation.
So the next time you're looking at a project task, take a second and ask yourself, are you looking at the when, or are you looking at the what? Or are you finally ready to use the power of both to see the whole picture? Because that is the secret to turning project chaos into project clarity. Thanks for digging into this with me.